Best-selling author. His latest is called The Relationship Bible. He's also the founder of the Potter's House Church in Dallas. We're going to talk now about the state of our nation, the political gridlock in Washington. Any thoughts on how to unite what seems to be such a divided country right now?
First, I think most Americans are really, really frustrated because we have this toxicity that continues to exist in our nation, where people really benefit from our polarities rather than being centrist in their ideologies. I think that we have to tone down the hostility and move away from this type of rhetoric that is not solution-based. What we need for the millions of people who are outside right now, who are sleeping in shelters right now, is the birthing of ideas. And this gridlock that we keep seeing in Washington is extremely disappointing from people that we are paying from our taxes to resolve the issues that threaten the welfare of our country.
Because of the economy, because of the way things operate in the highest echelons of business and in Wall Street, what have you, we have a lot of unemployment right now. The economy is bad. And then now there's this movement, this Occupy Wall Street movement, which has moved really across the country. What are your thoughts on this protest, on these protests?
Well, first of all, again, I'm glad to live in a country where we have the freedom of expression and where we can express ourselves in nonviolent ways. And for the most part, they've done a great job with that. The thing that I would love to see rise up out of the mayhem of the Occupy Wall Street movement is some deliverable ideas. This is what we want. Some itemization of those ideas and to really challenge the establishment to implement those ideas. We're seeing the protesting, but by and large, this global 40,000-foot view of what they want, this euphoric ideology, needs to be nailed down to some specific deliverables so that we can send a message to the powers that be, whether they be in Wall Street or Washington, that mainstream America really wants to see some change.
Mm-hmm. And you're speaking truth to power. It's basically what you're saying. If you're going to have this movement, then you need to have a clear, concise message behind it, correct?
Absolutely, and I'm not exactly sure what that message is, and I'm not exactly sure that message is the same from city to city. So there is some internal infrastructure that needs to be added to this movement for it to have the impact that it needs to have.
Bishop, let's talk about all these child sex abuse scandals that we have been hearing so much about. Penn State, Syracuse, and on. There was another one today. What is going on in our society, in our country, when you hear about cover-ups and things like this?
You know something, Don, this has been going on for years and years and years. It's just that with social networking and 24-hour media cycles that we have today, it has come to the surface in a way that it has not done historically. But with 1 in 6 boys molested in this country before the age of 18 and 1 in 4 girls, this is not a new story, and these cases with Penn State and Syracuse and elsewhere highlighted are important, but my concern, Don, is that most of the abuse that we're seeing happening in this country is not highlighted. It is not with big celebrities or important or prestigious people. It's down in the trenches with nearly 50% of boys being molested in homes by people that they know. And so I don't want us to demonize these people as the epitome of evil at the expense of overlooking people in our communities, and our neighbors, and even our relatives who have access to our children. It's time for parents to really take a sharp wake-up call and build the kind of communication mechanisms with their children so that we can really check to make sure that this is not happening not only at Penn State, where we need to really stamp it out, but also in our own neighborhoods and communities.
I have to ask you this, Bishop. I have to ask you about Bishop Eddie Long. You know him. I think you're friends with him, the fellow pastor. He leads a megachurch here in Atlanta. He settled several abuse cases that were filed against him, misconduct cases, as a better way of saying it. His wife just filed for divorce. Your thoughts on that? First, the misconduct allegation.
Well, I think if there was actually misconduct, we have to, the young men involved, and they are older men, and I think it's a little different from a 10-year-old who can't speak for himself. When you get these older boys who can make decisions, old enough to drive a car, old enough to go to war, if there is a deliberate action done here, we can't take a cash settlement when we really want justice done, because it leaves the public wondering what really happened. Because of the judicial system that we have today, none of us, our curiosities are not resolved, because the only people who really know what happened between the boys and Bishop are the boys and Bishop, and perhaps we will never know at this point. But we can use it as a talking point to begin to deal with how we interact with leadership and how we interact with people and what our expectations are of people. And in that way, I think it will do well. The most recent information that I have read is that Bishop Long has taken a sabbatical with his wife to rebuild his marriage and strengthen his relationship. I read due to the pressure of all of the media and everything.
Yeah, he said last Sunday in church that he's going to take some time off to deal with the issues with his family. But his wife did file for divorce, and she said she stands behind that. And she said it was irreconcilable differences, so that there's no chance of getting back together.
Whenever I counsel any couple, Don, I try to see them resolve things, because at the end of the day, above our jobs, above our careers and everything else, I think family is really important.
Do you know how he's doing?
I do not know. I do not know. I did know that he had decided to take a leave of absence until I read it. But I'm hoping that they're using it as a time to cut off the phone and the TV and really rebuild their relationships. For people who are high profile, like yourself, like me, him, and others, it's very difficult to maintain a private life when you're living in a fishbowl all the time. Sometimes you have to cut off all the lights and put your priorities back into alignment. And my prayer is that the Longs will use this opportunity to get that done.
Well, that's what your new book is about, partially. I'm sure you talk about this. It's called The Relationship Bible, Life Lessons on Relationships from the Inspired Word of God, right?
Absolutely. I find that the Bible really is full of relational information, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's dealing between mothers, daughters, fathers, sons, or most importantly, our relationship with God. The cross itself is not just a vertical relationship between us and God, but also horizontal. The implication is that God is also concerned about how we get along. I put together a lot of articles. I added a lot of material and highlight scriptures to help people look into the Word of God to help navigate through the crisis at work, at home, or even at church.
Bishop T.D.J., thank you so much.